Peace, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It is Monday, January the 10th, 2022. And I just thought I'd come to you today to re-record the recording that I did earlier today because it was just too long. Now, I was trained as a professional speaker as well as an evangelist and ordained minister. So I know that adults' attention span is typically between 6 and 15 minutes. So 40 something minutes is just too long. What we're talking about today is how to become highly self-actualized. Self-actualization is the process of achieving your maximum potential. It is becoming completely fulfilled and feeling whole and receiving gratification because you are fulfilling your purpose. Now, I got that term from Abraham Maslow, who was a psychologist or a humanistic psychologist in the 1950s. And what Abraham Maslow said was that all humans had like a hierarchy of needs, and at the base of the hierarchy was biological needs like food and clothing. That was the most basic human need that we all desired and all deserved to achieve. Then after that need was met, and only after that need was met, then there comes security. We become secure within ourselves and we feel safe because we have food, clothing, and shelter. Then above that, he said, was the principle of love, feeling loved, and giving loved, love and belonging. So Abraham Maslow said that once you achieve your biological needs and you feel safe, then you can feel like you're a part of a group and you feel more whole and complete. Then and only then are you able to love yourself, to love someone else, and to receive love. And then after that, he said, came self-esteem needs. And what Abraham Maslow said was, it's hard to feel whole and complete or feel good about yourself, or have a high positive regard about yourself unless those needs below self-esteem needs are met. Unless you have clothes, food, shelter, security, love, and belonging. Then and only then can you achieve self-esteem. And then after that, the highest of those needs is self-actualization. So you can maximize your potential, you fulfill your purpose, you began to feel whole and complete because all those needs below self-actualization have been accomplished. My role today is to help you become self-actualized or achieve self-actualization. Now, so here are Dr. Pruitt's 13 principles. Number 1, self-accountability. You must hold yourself accountable and responsible for your own life, for your own joy, and for your own peace. We don't blame the man. We don't blame a system or systems and practices and behaviors. We don't blame genetics. Now, when I was younger, the women in my family used to say, I'm mean. I can't help it. It's in my genetics. I'm a Gomez. I have the Gomez curse. And as long as we kept that type of belief system, we were mean. But when we said, or those of us who wanted to be responsible or wanted to change said, I and I alone am responsible for my life, that's when we change those type of behaviors. So be responsible for your life. Now, in order to be responsible for your life, you have to understand or understand that you are sovereign. You have at the root of that word reign or control, and sav is the prefix, which means above or beyond. You have control of your own life. You are the captain of your own life, and you can create your own reality. But that takes being positive, it takes having an abundance mindset, and it takes being responsible for yourself. Number 2 is practice delayed gratification. Now, this probably could be incorporated into something else, but delayed gratification basically means that you are more concerned with achieving your goals than you are just fulfilling the flesh, or you're more concerned about making sure you live up to a high standard than you are about doing whatever feels good. So in this society, they say, do as thou wilt. I can do whatever I please. But my mother-in-law taught me a long time ago, Kia, you do not live only for yourself. And I'm glad she taught me that, because what she said was, you must live in such a way that people can look up to you, that people can regard you, because one day you will be the standard by which people measure themselves. So in order to do that, I had to practice delayed gratification. I was more concerned about, yes, myself, but also how my behaviors and decisions impacted other people. Now, that meant that I had to be very intentional with my life. So that leads me into number 3, plan for your life. The scripture says, write the vision and make it plain. In other words, know what type of vision you will have for your life. Sometimes that incorporates writing a vision and mission statement for your life, just like people write vision and mission statements for their business. How else will you know how you're going to live your life if you don't create a blueprint? So create a plan and make it plain. Even if you have to create a collage or a vision board and set it before you, sticky notes even, to say, this is what I will accomplish. Because when I was younger, I knew that I wanted to become a journalist, that I wanted to become a psychologist, and that I desired to have a high standard for myself. So I wrote it down. I am Dr. Kia Pruitt. And that was important to me. That's what Stephen Covey calls begin with the end in mind. That's why he said, when you walk into a room, imagine with me that you're walking into a room, and slowly you come to realize that you are actually at a funeral. But when you look in the casket, you see that that funeral is your funeral. Now, having said that and come to the realization that you're at your own funeral, what is it that you would desire for people to say about you? And that is how you live your life. So make a plan, write the plan out, create that vision, and make it plain. Number 4, I believe we're on, act on your plan. So you set the guideline or the plan, the vision for your life, and then you act on it. I knew at a young age that I desired certain credentials, so I set that out. I wrote it out succinctly and very, very specifically how that would look. And then I wrote down the steps that it would take to achieve each goal. And I did exactly what Stephen Covey said, by beginning with the end in mind. In order to execute that plan, I had to create it, spell it out very specifically and in detail, and then have a plan of action and attack it and do it. Starting with what's first, or first things first, prioritizing my life and achieving that plan. So we did accountability, self-accountability, delayed gratification, discipline, create a plan, execute your plan, and am I on number 5 or is it 6? Mastery. Create or live a life full of mastery. To live a life of mastery means that you achieve something with perfection. And in order to achieve something with perfection, you practice it. It becomes a habit and you do it as often as possible until it becomes a part of your life. Exemplify mastery. Mastery in your posture, mastery in the way you walk, mastery in your speech, mastery in your thoughts, and in your behavior. Now that means that usually you have to be positive and have an abundance mindset, knowing that you can and you will achieve these goals. Now, I've heard people say you can't be perfect. It's somebody else's fault that we have these issues. It's because of the man. It's because of the system. It's because of my genetics. I can't because of this, that, and the third. When I was growing up, you were not allowed to say can't. My mother taught us that what you will say is I can. Because the moment you make up your mind that you will achieve something, the universe conspires to assist you. The universe aligns with you, with your thoughts and with your resolution that you will achieve something. And then you perfect it. You are impeccable with your word. Mastery means being impeccable with your word, being precise with your word. Say what you mean what you say. And if you make a vow, you complete that vow. If you make a mistake, you correct it quickly. But you do whatever it takes to achieve mastery and perfection. You see, I'm the type of person that know that perfection can be achieved. I grew up listening to scriptures that said, be ye perfect, even as your Father is perfect. Be ye holy, even as I am holy. And so for me, that meant set a high standard for yourself. Set a high goal for yourself and practice it until you achieve it and master it, until it becomes a part of you. Mastery should be part of your speech. Now, I also know that when you look at the etymology of the word perfection in the scripture, that means that you eisegete and exegete the word perfection. So you break down the word and you look at the meaning of the word, but you also look at it within the context of how the word was used, and you take into consideration the culture, the dynamics of the speech, all of that when you're breaking down the word perfection. So in that sense of the scriptures, perfection meant to be whole, to be complete, satisfied, and fulfilled. So when you're whole, you do what it takes to live up to the high standard that you set for yourself, that you feel that your Creator has set for you. You live up to it. And it doesn't mean you don't make a mistake. It means that when you do make a mistake, because you are human, you correct it quickly. However, your standard is high up here so that you will achieve it, because the higher the expectation, the higher the achievement. Mastery. Achieve mastery. Achieve mastery in the way you spend your money. Achieve mastery in the way you invest. Achieve mastery in the way you speak with people. Achieve mastery in your thoughts. Achieve mastery in your manifestation. Achieve mastery in your communication. Achieve mastery in your relationships and in every aspect of your life. Because you are sovereign, because you are God in flesh, because you are source in flesh, because you all are part of the one or the Creator. Next, I have family first. People and family first before things. Put family and people before things, because you want to leave a legacy for yourself. And although legacy includes financial legacy, the most important resource or the most important thing that most people say that they have in their life is people. So remember when you were looking in that casket and that casket held you? What is it that you would desire for people to say about you? Would you desire for them to say that you were busy working so many hard hours that was the most important thing in your life? Or would you desire for them to say that you were good to yourself, good to your family, and good to your community? Because you see, even if you have a business that you desire for it to succeed or to thrive, the most successful businesses are those which understand and understand the importance of building relationship with your customers or your clients. And we even say this in counseling, that in order to have a successful counseling dynamic, You have to establish a good rapport with your clients or with those whom you coach. So relationship, put relationship with people and family above things. Okay, what's next? Next on the list is alignment. Align yourself with people and principles that allow you to become the most fulfilled, happy, joyous, whole being that you can be. That means that you're careful with what you listen to in the music. You're careful what you put before your eyes. You're careful what goes into your psyche. And you're careful or mindful about the energy that surrounds you, that's within people. So you know how certain people can come into your life or just come into your space, and you can feel when they're very angry or very negative, and how that impacts your day and your mentality. Well, that is an indication to you that, and me, that we have to be careful who we surround ourselves with. So align yourself with the positive people. Align yourself with positive vibrations. Align yourself with positive music and positive paradigms. And that is what will help you to become highly self-actualized. Next, I have move with integrity. The integrity is the quality of being honest and having honor and strong moral principles. That means having good values. When I was growing up, we called that being righteous, holy, upright, moral, having a high moral compass, setting a high standard for yourself, and thinking and living that way for all of your life. That means maintaining a certain standard of living so that you will keep your reputation intact. This is very critical and important as we move into the fifth dimension, as we move into higher vibrations, because we've been living in such a low vibrational atmosphere that a lot of us have been negative. A lot of us have been loose with our money, with our spending, with our words, with our vows, with almost everything. But one of the principles that I incorporated into my life at a very early age was integrity, cultivating high moral principles and standards for myself. I'm always amazed that when I meet some of my friends that I grew up with in church, how they say that they they are surprised that I live a certain way, since I don't go to church every week the way I used to. But the way I live my life is I don't have to, Pruitt doesn't have to live in a building each day in order to live up to a high standard or have high morals for myself. That is not how I live my life. So what did you do when the shutdown happened and there was no pastor to look and follow you and hold you accountable? When you are self-accountable, you hold high moral standards and values for yourself, and you live that way. Now, you might make mistakes along the way, but again, you correct the mistakes quickly, and you also allow yourself to have people that will hold you accountable. Let me give you an example. There was a lady named May Walker when I was growing up. We called her Saint May. We called each other Saint because we felt that if you call yourself Saint, then it would give you something to live up to. Now, I know some people are uncomfortable with the whole idea of perfection, but I'm glad I grew up in that way. So it made me feel like living and walking as a saint was important and necessary. So Saint May was a very, very important woman in my life. She was an elder, and she was one of the mothers of the church. A mother of the church is just a woman with wisdom who was older in age, who lived a holy, upright life and had high standards for herself and lived accordingly. She also guided the women, and she judged the women and helped the women walk circumspectly. So One time, someone had severely disappointed me and offended me. I was outraged. I was livid. And I determined in my mind that I was going to get back and retaliate. And I said it out of my mouth. I was yelling and screaming and hollering and becoming unseemly. And I said emphatically, I will get back at you. And I had even set in motion what that looked like and started executing my plan. Saint May grabbed me by the hand. She pulled me closely and she said, Saint Kia, my daughter, it matters not to me what people do to you or how they offend you or what they say. You ought to hold your head up high at all costs and in all things and maintain your integrity. Now, I was humbled and embarrassed. I was even a little, I don't know, I felt a little setback. And I held my head down in shame. And as I said in my other video, like she said it so sternly, she was so harsh. And her, the way in which she chastised me, that, her breath was on my face and, I could see particles of saliva flying. She was livid and I was humbled. I put my head down in shame and she lifted my head up. And she made me look into her eyes and said, do you understand? Maintain your integrity. And those words guided my life. I was 23 at the time. For the rest of my life. Now, there were other women like her who told us, like my mother-in-law said, if you judge yourself, no one else would have to judge you. 30 years later, Saint May called me on the telephone a few months ago and said, daughter, I've watched you throughout your life. She said, come hell and high water, through trials and tribulations and many offenses, I've watched you hold your head up high and hold yourself and keep yourself to a high moral standard with your reputation intact and maintaining your integrity. And now I can say, I'm very proud of you. I'm 53 years old and her words guided my life. She hung up the telephone and shortly thereafter, a few weeks later, she passed away. But I felt a sense of pride, even though I was humbled, that I had lived up to her expectation, because the higher the expectation, the higher the achievement. And let me tell you something else. One time when I was younger, I went to church to a convention. And at the convention, we had many preachers. And I walked in there, I had on a white dress. It was very, very beautiful. And apparently you could see through the dress and I didn't know it. Again, like my mother-in-law always said, look yourself in the mirror and judge yourself. Judge yourself by morals, values, principles, and how you look. Because if you judge yourself, no one else has to judge you. We had a woman by the name of Mother Rollins. She was the chief mother of the church. And Mother Rollins saw me walk through that door and she said, daughter, what is it that you have on? I said, don't I look so nice, Mother? I have on such a beautiful dress. It's white, which is the right color for the summertime, and it's even long and it's modest. She said, good job, my darling, but I can see through that dress. So you need to go back to your hotel room and change or put a slip underneath that dress, because I don't need to see your panty lines and neither do the men of the church. Again, I held my head down and I said, yes, ma'am. And I was hurt because I had, upset the mother. And if I had judged myself, she would not have had to judge me. So I fought tears back, wiped up my tears. And even though my hotel room was 30 minutes away, I got in that car, someone drove me, and I changed my clothing, because we had a high moral standard by which to live. That included the way we dressed. Now, I'm 53 now, and I know that sometimes you have people that are sent in your life as elders to guide you and help you to live up to the standards that are set for you and that you set for yourself. But if you're self-accountable and self-responsible, you will set high morals and values for yourself and live accordingly. And you see, this is why my children respect me, and they're in their 30s. This is why their friends respect me. This is why my people in my community respect me, because I live by a high moral standard that I have set for myself. I am concerned about my thoughts, my emotions, my mentality, my speech. So I make sure I'm impeccable with my word, that I'm careful with my words. It leads me to something my mother-in-law used to say, let your words be few. Because when you let your words be few and you're not just sprouting off a bunch of stuff, then you won't just say things offensively. I want to be less than 30 minutes. So move with integrity. The next one is absorb knowledge and information. Read as much as you can. Study to show yourself approved. Because a workman or somebody that's skillful, someone who exercises mastery, studies, reads, becomes an expert so that they can achieve a high level of mastery. That's what being a master apprentice is about. That's what achieving a master's degree is about. You study, you research, and you read until this information and knowledge that is conducive to your growth becomes a part of you. So you see, when I was growing up, my mother made us read a lot. We read encyclopedias, we read books, we read dictionaries, we read newspapers, and then we wrote articles and paragraphs and essays for her based on what we read. So while other children were out playing and doing whatever they will, we were in those books reading. But it did something for us because it helped us to learn how to absorb knowledge and information and to achieve mastery. So we got that, achieve mastery. What else do I need to say? Oh, I think I forgot to say exercise discipline and focus. Exercising discipline. Did I say that? When you exercise discipline, then you set parameters for yourself, and you are careful with your words, with your thoughts, and with your actions. Another thing that goes along with, I'm cooking these beans, exercising discipline is to exercise delayed gratification. That means that you don't put your fleshly desires above things that are important. So you see, I was very careful growing up with my words, with my thoughts, and with my behaviors, and even with my body. My children never saw men running in and out of my house. They never witnessed me having men in my bed or jumping from man to man. Some people live that way, but that is not the way I lived my life. I lived a life full of wholesomeness, righteousness, and integrity. Now, that's not to say that I didn't fulfill some of my needs, but I was very, very intentional about making sure I delayed gratification or put off things that just felt good to my flesh so that I could accomplish those goals, that vision, that mission statement that I wrote for my life. And what helped me to put off gratification or fulfilling the flesh was fasting. So that means that I will abstain from food for days or maybe hours or for a period of time. Because if I could teach my body to operate even when it's hungry and teach it discipline to not just eat whenever it feels like eating, then I can incorporate that type of discipline in my entire life. So I executed discipline, and I make sure I incorporated delayed gratification. One of the goals I set for my life was being a great and excellent parent, achieving college degrees all the way up to my terminal degree or PhD. That took a lot of discipline. So while other people were out living it up and partying and having a great life, what I did was delayed gratification so that I can write my vision, make it plain, hold myself accountable, execute my plan, and achieve mastery in my thoughts, emotions, speech, and behavior. When I was growing up, we sang a song, "My body belongs to God, my mind belongs to God, my speech belongs to God." We even said, "My private parts belongs to God." And people would laugh, but I really respect the fact that our elders held us up to a higher expectation. Now, of course, sex is a natural part of living and a natural part of being a human being, but it should never control your life. It should never come before the principles that you set for your life. It should never come before your children. It should never come before your goals. This is just Dr. Pruitt. And when you understand how to put things in proper perspective, then you will achieve self-actualization. So what's after that? Being determined. Be determined to fulfill all of these goals and do it. Do it. Not I can't, but how can I? And then I want to say practice these things. Practice, practice, practice until they become a part of you. That can go along with mastery. Practice as often as you can. Do these things until it's second nature. And then finally, enjoy. Enjoy your accomplishments. Celebrate each milestone and enjoy your accomplishments. Once you have written the vision and made it plain and written it out specifically and in detail, celebrate it. That's a milestone. Then once you set down guidelines to how to achieve that goal, with every single point that you have achieved, celebrate it. Celebrate the milestones and enjoy your achievement and reward yourself. And finally, teach someone else these principles. You can teach them verbally, but the most accurate way of teaching something is to live it. Now, people used to say, "Do as I say and not as I do." That was not my mantra. My mantra was I must live up to goals that I set for myself and high standards so that my children will follow in my footsteps. Today, I have children that fast. I have children that have degrees or skills. I have children that have mastered certain principles. I have children that create vision boards for themselves. I have children that treat people with love and respect and kindness and goodness because that is what they watched their mother do. I have children that feed the hungry and clothe the homeless and clothe the naked because that's what they watched their mother do. I have children that teach economic principles, children who are conservative with their money, conservative with their bodies, conservative with their speech, conservative with their ideologies, because that's the standard that I set for myself and I set before them. Achieve mastery. You can and you will become highly self-actualized if you practice these principles. Become self-accountable and hold yourself accountable for your own life, peace, and joy. Delay gratification. Practice discipline and focus. Create a plan, write it and make it plain in this plan of action, and that might include having a vision and mission statement for yourself and for your family and even for your money. Execute the plan. Execute mastery. Put family and people first above things. Align yourself with people, music, and vibrations that are conducive to your wholesomeness, to your joy, to your self-actualization, and to your well-being. Move is the next principle, with integrity. Next, absorb knowledge and information and allow yourself to be judged and examined and corrected by elders or by people that you hold in high esteem. But if you judge yourself, you won't have to be judged. Look in the mirror at yourself and make sure you're living up to the high standards that you have set for yourself. Then practice these things and practice them often. Next, enjoy your reward and celebrate your milestones. And finally, teach these principles and teach them often. Now, let me go back a little bit because I forgot one thing when it comes to putting people first above things. Relationship building is very, very important, because when you have a relationship with your family, with your friends, with your community, it helps you to feel a part of that community, and you feel a sense of love and belonging. And that was what Abraham Maslow said is very, very important. Along with that includes practicing effective communication. So you want to make sure when you communicate with your friends and families that you have a win-win mentality, meaning that you know you can communicate and speak to each other in such a way that is positive and peaceful, in such a way that everybody can win and have their needs met. Now, effective communication is important, and I did a video about this probably last year. It just simply means that you seek first to understand the person and then to be understood, or you seek to hear them out wholly and completely before you speak your piece. That makes people feel whole, loved, have a sense of belonging, and it just makes them feel like you appreciate and respect them. Now, that also incorporates, yes, having a win-win mentality and an abundance mindset. Now, there are 4 types of communication skills, because I've just had to take a step back, and that is, or communication, I don't know if it's skills or ways of communication, means of communicating. That is a passive communication style, passive aggressive, and assertive. A passive approach in communication is when you don't speak at all, or you don't communicate. You just let people run all over you. You let them do whatever they will. That's not healthy. It's not conducive to a wholesome relationship. The next is passive aggressive, and that is when you kind of get back at a person, but you do it in such a way that's not overt. So say you're upset with your spouse, and instead of coming to him and having a conversation, you burn his shirt or while you're ironing it, or you burn his food, or you rack up debt or spend up the credit card because you're being passive aggressive. And that just basically means that you weren't responsible enough and accountable or self-accountable enough to come and have an adult conversation. Next, another way of communicating is being aggressive. Shouting, like I told you I was when I said, I'm going to get back at you. I hate you. I'm angry. I'm mean. I'm going to retaliate. I promise I'm going to do it if it's the last thing I do. Aggression is not healthy. It makes people feel off-put. It makes them feel uneasy. It's a negative, low vibrational way of communicating. Screaming, yelling, hollering, slamming doors, stomping feet, hitting people. That is not how adults behave. That is not a responsible way of being. What is the most effective means of communication is being assertive. Being assertive is speaking explicitly how you feel about a certain situation. It means that you're an adult. It's coming as a responsible, sovereign being, saying that I am adult, and I have an issue that I need to address. Now, there's a time and a place to address those things. Maybe as soon as your spouse comes home from work, or as soon as you get on the phone, or when somebody is tired. Maybe that's not the best time to bring up an issue, but you will know. You'll feel it in your spirit. But an assertive means of communication is coming to the ground or to the table with a positive mindset, knowing that you can converse back and forth so that you both win. And it's speaking positively and directly, without being aggressive, without being passive or passive aggressive. And usually it incorporates using I feel statements. It's not being blaming, it's not being condemning, but it's just saying something like, honey, I just wanted to let you know that I feel sad. And I feel sad because when you say that my cooking could have tasted better, it hurts my feelings. I feel hurt. So when you use I feel statements, you're taking responsibility and accountability for how you feel. And then you can move forward and dialogue back and forth until you come to a resolve or resolution. So that's all I have, family. Become highly effective as a responsible sovereign being. And these are the principles that if you incorporate within your life, you will see that you will become an example by which people actually set their lives. You will become someone to whom people can look up. And it doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. It means if you make mistakes, you correct them quickly. You know how to apologize or repent. And repentance just means you turn away from that way that's not conducive to your growth. And that might incorporating apologizing to yourself or to people in your life that you feel that's important. But more importantly, is to turn away and to practice growth until it becomes a part of you. So these are the things that I have done to live up to a certain standard. And this is how I have achieved self-mastery and self-actualization. And so, like I said, I practice these principles along with other principles, the 7 habits of highly effective people, and other principles that I've learned in books and that I've learned by listening to podcasts and different things, because it's very important to me to be an elder and to be an example. Again, that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. It just means that I live up to a high standard. I have high moral principles, and I'm concerned about my reputation. Because as my mother-in-law said, you don't live for yourself alone. Every decision you make affects somebody else. Every decision has a consequence. So think before you act and behave. Somebody is looking up to you. And I know we live in an era where people say they do whatever they want to do and they don't care. Do as thou wilt. I'm not one of them. I'm very concerned about what you think of me. I'm very, very concerned about being an example. And I know I made mistakes, so I try my best to correct them quickly and to execute the high standards for which I have set for myself. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I am your life coach, your counselor, your sister, your friend, Mama Kia, whatever you need me to be. I love you. Namaste. Make this a great day. Happy New Year. Happy 2022. And welcome to 5D Living. Peace. Mwah. I love you. Bye.